Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to ROG Pulse episode number 6. My name is Solid Jake GG, also known as Jake Kalinsky, and this week we are talking about the AniMe Matrix display. And joining me, we've got my good friend Sascha. Sascha, what is new with you?
Hey Jake, good to see you. Oh yeah, just got in this morning. What's new? Oh, my Quest 2 finally arrived after being stuck in customs for a few days. But I didn't manage to download any games because the download servers are apparently overwhelmed, so can't really get any use out of it. It looks great in the home environment though. Like you can just launch the home environment and look around. It looks great. No
So,
screen door effect anymore, but no games.
so you're pretty familiar with VR in general, even having custom modded your own Vive at home. Why did you pull the trigger
Yeah.
on the Quest 2? I mean, this is completely off topic, but I'm curious because I'm looking, at VR headsets right now, thinking maybe I want to jump in myself. But what sold you on the Quest 2?
Well, I got a Quest 1, and I really like not having a wire anymore. Like, I actually really got used to the wire, but then having no wire is awesome. And now with the Quest 2, you got super high resolution. It's higher resolution than the Valve Index, though I'd say it's about the same. So you got the same clarity, and it's
Is it
wireless.
1440p?
And
What is it?
the display is almost 4K for both
Oh,
eyes,
wow.
but still, that's a super high resolution. And so you can play wirelessly, just the unit by itself, or you can plug in the link cable. And it has Wi-Fi 6, and apparently the latency is really good. So you can actually play fully wirelessly just over Wi-Fi. You don't need like a special accessory like for the Vive or, yeah,
Very
no
cool.
Y-Gig.
Yeah, I mean, I think the battery lasts a few hours on that. I don't know. VR is such an interesting thing. I think we're definitely going to do some content on that and just coverage on that in our other podcasts
Oh,
in the future. So look forward to some more VR
hope so.
discussions because I think
Yeah.
there's a lot of us here at ROG that are really intrigued by VR. And
And
it's
you're into squadrons as well, right? And
I
squadrons in
haven't even
VR
tried
is,
it yet. Yeah, I know.
uh,
It looks really fun. You got to talk about
you
flight
gotta get your
simulator.
HOTAS all set up.
Yeah, yeah. It's I just need all the time in the world. But guys, tonight we've got a great show for you lined up. We're talking about the AniMe Matrix display that is featured on our G14 laptop. We're going to go in and look at how this device is actually put together because on the surface it might just look like a simple display, but let me tell you, after doing some research and talking to these guys here at headquarters, it is not a simple procedure. And it's actually really cool, and it's going to be fun to see where it goes. We've even got a few cool custom designs I've seen some guys create and just post online. So we're going to take a look at some community creations and maybe talk a little bit about the future and some other variations that have been done as well. But Sascha, let's start by talking about the G14. What is the actual device? Who is it geared towards? Like, tell me about this laptop.
So yeah, the G14 pretty much is geared towards portability. So it's for everyone, me included, who has wanted a really compact, ultra portable gaming laptop, really low weight and really long battery life. So it's only 1.6 kilos, which is 400 grams lighter than regular gaming laptops. So for 15-inch gaming laptops, you're usually around 2.2 kilos. That's the average. Then there are some that are slightly lighter, like maybe 2 kilos, slightly below, maybe 1.9 something. And then you got this, which is only 1.6. So there's a huge difference, shaving off 400 grams. You still got up to an RTX 2060 in here. You got a really nice high resolution QHD panel or a full HD 120 hertz panel. So yeah, keyboard is really good as well. Usually when you get like small, compact, ultra portable laptops, you get those really thin ultrabook keyboards that have very little key travel and don't really feel that nice. But this one has really nice, generous 1.6 millimeter key travel, which is like a regular gaming laptop, and it has an AniMe Matrix option. That's also really cool. So you can have an LED animation. You can put all your memes and different animations, display information on the lid, which we'll see. Looks really cool. For anyone who hasn't seen it yet, you're in for a surprise.
Now, just talking about modern laptops nowadays that are getting smaller and smaller, is it really just the big issue being heat? Is that the biggest limiter when it comes to maintaining power versus shrinking the device?
Yeah, absolutely. So power is the main thing that limits the performance. It's hard enough to put all the parts on the PCB. You can imagine the PCB in this laptop is about half the size of the laptop itself. So it's like this big. And you can imagine you want a full PC in there and a graphics card. And a graphics card, the PCB of a graphics card itself is bigger than half of this laptop. So squeezing that down and then also having the CPU and the chipset and all the other stuff in there is really difficult. That's the difficult part to begin with, but then you need to cool all of this. So that's where it gets really tricky. And what most people don't realize is going from 15-inch to 14-inch, it's not just, oh, it's a little bit more small, it's a little bit more compact. What really is important for cooling is the X dimension, so the width of the laptop. That's essentially where you get your exhaust, where you get your vents. And if you cut that down, you have a smaller surface area on the heatsink fins, and that makes it that much harder to get all the performance in there. So what we did is we have 4 exhausts here. We have 2 in the back and we have 2 on the sides. So that way we still get a lot of exhaust in the system. And I didn't mention the AMD Ryzen 4000. Definitely have to bring that up. So there's an 8-core, 16-thread mobile Ryzen 4000 CPU in here as well. So it's incredibly powerful for this form factor. There's nothing getting close to this kind of performance in 14-inch. Forget about it. Like, this is competing with 15-inch laptops, and it's 400 grams lighter and much smaller. So that's what makes this so cool. And I have one as my work laptop actually here at Asus. So do a lot of people here, because it's just a really, really awesome, powerful, compact, portable system.
Yeah, it's got it all, it seems, and it's got even more than power and portability. It's also got the AniMe Matrix display, which is what we're actually focusing on here in today's show. So let's just talk about the AniMe Matrix display and what the goal is. Now, is this really just designed to be flashy and new and fun? Or is there a bigger picture for the display?
Well, this kind of goes back to how we started with different design differentiation on laptops in general. You would have different logos on the lid in general. Every brand would put their logo on here, and then some brands started to eliminate it, right? You all remember a certain brand that had an illuminated logo here. I don't know, are we allowed to mention it? I think everybody knows, right? And then other brands started to follow and added like illumination to it, different colors even, and then it became RGB. So you would have an RGB illuminated logo on the lid. And we were just thinking, our designers and our engineers, what's the next step? What's coming after that, right? So it became multi-zone RGB. Well, it was single-zone RGB, and we're thinking about making it multi-zone RGB. And we're also thinking about, what if you can customize it, and you can have it display your name or your game icon or anything else. And yeah, that's kind of how it started. And we're experimenting with small displays, putting small displays on the lid, and eventually we figured out it actually looks really good if we stretch it out over most of the lid, and give people a lot of freedom to customize their system. That's a trend you can see overall. Everybody's going for those D brand skins. For one reason, because they want something that's much more subtle. They don't want something that screams, "This is a gaming laptop," They want something that's much more subtle and stylish. And for another part, people want to customize it. Like, people put different stickers on here, people put different color films on here, and you can see this is a super simple design, so you don't have to hide anything. But if you want to customize it further, that's where the AniMe Matrix comes in and really helps, and lets you put anything on there you want, and it's even animated.
We're going to take a look at the animations in a little bit, but I want to dive in first with kind of figuring out how to create this display. You mentioned that the goal is to bring customization to the user, right? And that's not an easy thing to do when it comes to the back of a panel on a laptop. You just think of it, you can look at other products that might have a glowing logo in the center, where people take stickers and they put something on top of it to utilize that glow to kind of get their own flair. And it seems like the AniMe Matrix display is taking that concept of throwing a sticker on top of a glowing design, but literally allowing the user to take an image and then replicate it with LED. But how hard was it to actually incorporate this? Because I've never seen another device with anything like this. It really does seem like it's a unique beast.
Yeah, I don't think anybody else has ever done something like this. And like you mentioned, even just having an illuminated logo. So you can illuminate it using the backlight of the panel. That's how it was done originally. So then you don't have any extra thickness or components because you're just using the backlight that's already there. Just let it bleed out the back as well. But as soon as you add color to it, then you have to actually add thickness to the lid, right? It becomes thicker. So doing something as complex as an animated display with over 1,000 LEDs like we did here, it's really tricky and it's very difficult to make sure it's really slim and doesn't make the laptop thicker, because portability and compactness is what this is all about. We don't want to sacrifice that to have a nice animated display on here. And yeah, like you said, stickers. So if you put a sticker on here, it's on here, and getting it off is a pain in the ass. I have seen very few people remove stickers because it's such a pain to clean all the glue and everything,
Yeah.
and they rip and tear. So in the end, what you see is a lot of people put on a sticker and then another one, and you see some laptops that have been around for like a few years. It's like layers and layers of stickers. With an Anime Matrix, that's way easier. You can display anything you want. You don't like it anymore, you just change it. You can have your fresh memes every day and customize it however you
You
want.
can do more
So
with it
yeah,
than just memes, but I guess that's definitely one of the appeals, I
my
suppose.
favorite part.
Oh, okay. Well, let's actually
My
talk
favorite part for
about,
sure.
the Anime Matrix and like how we got there. I know you have some prototypes available to talk about. Basically the initial protos of like what brought this inspiration and how we kind of figured out how we'd make it.
So you can see, I'm trying to align it with the light. I don't know how well you can see it because it is very subtle, but
Yeah.
there is a slash on here, and
Yep.
that's kind of the design language we have for all our gaming laptops. So
Even
even
the
if you've never
background
seen
here
this,
on the show, you can notice the slashes on
yeah,
our overlay. Like it's everywhere. It's taking over.
yeah, it's like a very subtle way of people realizing this is ROG without having to say it's ROG or having to write the letters ROG or showing our logo. And this is something, if you've never seen this laptop before and you can't see the ROG logo because we made it pretty small, you'll still probably guess that it's an ROG laptop. And you'll do that because of the slash design. So we wanted to have this slash design, and we wanted to have something that fits into cyberpunk. Cyberpunk is something that we chose as a theme years ago. For those of you who followed us, you can see that we've had these cyberpunk characters and these game characters in short movies and animations, and even some comic books. Work with some artists on this. And this is very cyberpunky, to have an LED matrix display like this. It's very retro, but at the same time very futuristic and very stylish. And yeah, our designer said they wanted to get some sort of a retro look, low pixel resolution and very simple monochromatic, just black and white. And yeah, at the same time, it looks kind of futuristic because it's on a laptop where you wouldn't expect it, and it takes almost no extra thickness.
Which is incredibly impressive because I mean, when you think about the average size of a panel over the years, they're getting smaller and smaller. But this is effectively another display on the back of an already existing display, right? It's
Yeah, yeah.
LED.
Yeah, it's essentially two displays back to back in the lid. And there are some people who ask, why didn't you just put a proper display on here, like an LCD display? We've actually done that in the past. We have a Taichi laptop, Asus Taichi laptop from a couple of years ago. Well, one of the reasons is power consumption, but another reason is you want to make sure it doesn't get damaged, right? So if it's another panel here, you would have glass on here. It would scratch, it would crack, it would break. So that's actually why we have all these tiny holes that are drilled and even laser drilled into the aluminum lid to protect the display, the Anime Matrix display inside. And that was also the challenging part. We want to make those holes as small as possible so there's no dust and dirt getting stuck in there, but at the same time big enough so it's bright and clear and you can clearly see the display.
Cool. Well, let's take a look at some of
Yeah,
these samples we have here because you've got a lot of different things on the desk. But looking at the top left corner, from your
yep.
hands, what are those blue, green, and black little squares?
So this is a development board from ISSI, which is an LED driver chip company. So well, they make much more things, but what we use them for, this is an example, a driver board for mini LEDs, or you can use it for regular LEDs as well. And actually, you can see these are regular LEDs. So I can try to hold it closer to the camera. Where's the camera? There we go. Um, so you can see these are fairly big LEDs. They're over 1 millimeter by 1 millimeter in size. So they're small, but compared to what we use on the AniMe Matrix, they're really big. And this is a development board with the different driver chips to try out different ways how to address a bunch of LEDs. So you can see there's a matrix on here, and you can see how fast you can switch them on and off, and how much afterglow is there. So this is the first prototype essentially of the AniMe
Yeah,
Matrix.
when I
And then
look at
here
that,
we got,
the first thing that I just want to talk about
yep,
is that thing is thick. Like if you were to try
yeah,
to put that as the whole display, it would be pretty much unusable
yeah.
because that's quite large.
I think it would add up to be like 1 centimeter at least, just extra thickness for the AniMe Matrix
And that's
display. So it's
not
two
really
layers.
appealing, yeah.
It's two PCBs. And yeah, this is just an early development board, first prototype, so to say. And then we created our own uh, development platform, our development module, which is this one. This was actually made by ISSI, but it was made for us. So this is our design, our layout. And you can see here we already have everything on
Wow.
one PCB. And you can see the LEDs are way smaller. So these are already mini LEDs. They're 0.6 times 0.3 millimeters, and they're super slim as well. Just 0.2 millimeters, 0.2, 1.5. So 0.15 millimeters thick. So they're super slim, and they're also really small. They're rectangular though, so that's something we'll get into later as well, which is a challenge.
Yeah.
And then we moved
The
to the
uh the
next
the
development
the
board.
smaller LEDs, we want smaller LEDs because that means higher resolution.
We want smaller LEDs because it allows us to pack more of them close to each other, and it also, the smaller LEDs are way more power efficient. So these
Okay.
big LEDs, if you want the same brightness with these big traditional LEDs, well, big, they're still small, but way bigger than mini LEDs, the power consumption is 2 to 3 times higher. So the AniMe Matrix theoretically can go up to 10 watts. It can be pretty bright.
Well,
This one, for the same brightness, would go up to 30 watts, which is insane. That's the power consumption of a CPU, you know, mobile CPU. So yeah, that was out of the question. And yeah, then the next prototype then was a flexible PCB. So you can see this is essentially the same as the first one, but it's on a flexible PCB, so it can be bent, which is important for the
that's
assembly.
crazy.
It adds a lot when it comes to durability of the lid, because believe it or not, it actually flexes a lot. You know, when you push on it, if this would be completely rigid, then it would crack. The panel would crack, and the AniMe Matrix PCB might crack. The solder joints might crack. So that's why flexible PCB is important, and it's ridiculously thin. So it's 0.2 millimeters thin, the PCB.
Wow.
So super thin.
Yeah, that's really impressive. And like, I mean, how long are we talking in development from stage 1 to stage 3 of those? Any idea?
Um, yeah, I would say there's around 1/4 between each of these.
Okay, that's pretty
So
fast, but still a lot
yeah,
of
that
R&D.
yeah, yeah. And the original idea of having an AniMe Matrix display or something customizable, a mini display on the lid, that's something that first time at least I heard of it and we talked about it was over 2 years ago. The
Wow.
first time we have some regular internal meetings where the different teams show the latest technology that is available right now. And one of the teams was showing mini LEDs off at the time. So yeah, at that time it was still a prototype mini LED 2 or 3 years ago, and now it's mass producible and affordable.
That's the key. Gotta make sure that
Yeah.
it's not adding too much of a cost to the actual device. Very cool. So we've got this down to the super slim, flexible material. And then
Right.
I see you've got a million different pieces there. Are those all the same thing, or are they different parts?
So this is then a full-size Anime Matrix board, flexible PCB. So this is what it looks like inside the laptop lid. And you can see here the LEDs are spaced out more, and it's way more LEDs. So this one, we just have 2 LED drivers on here on the back. And so it's just a certain number of LEDs. Here we have 7. So it's way more LEDs, and it's way bigger. And the really challenging part for this was all of those LEDs have to be positioned super precise because they have to shine through those tiny holes in the lid. Those holes in the lid have to be extremely precise as well, because if you got any small misalignment, then the brightness goes down a lot. You can see that really strongly. It's very apparent. And we also had to make sure that all of the LEDs not only work, but are at the same brightness. So they have to be soldered really precisely to make sure they get all the same current, the same voltage. That was super challenging. So that's why it's actually 2-layer flexible PCB instead of
Wow.
single layer. Um,
We
really not
actually
easy to do.
we have a question from chat. You mentioned they get really bright, and when it's just kind of in its
Yep.
pure form. How much power does this actually use, and how does it affect the battery life of the device?
Oh yeah, that's people ask this all the time when you tell them about the Anime Matrix. How does it affect battery life? So realistically, you're not going to have all the LEDs on the whole time. You're not going to use this like a flashlight to look for your keys on your desk or something.
Could I do that
So
if I
you have
wanted
an
to?
animation. You could, yeah, you can
Nice.
do that. We could make an app for that. But yeah, realistically, you have some animation running on here, so you probably have at any one time maybe 30% of the LEDs on. And so typically the power consumption when you run animations on here, it affects your battery life. It reduces your battery life by 20 to 30%, depending on what you do on here. But we don't really expect that people have something running on here all the time.
Right.
So battery life, video playback, you get around 10 hours, which is really good on
Yep.
the G14. Thanks to the Ryzen Mobile 4000 in particular, super good battery life. So you get around 10 hours, and if you have the Anime Matrix running as well, that drops to maybe 6 or 7 hours. This is not with full display brightness, obviously, and just light loading, but still, that gives you a rough idea what the battery life impact is. It's not too bad. And generally, what happens actually is when you have the Anime Matrix running and there's something on here, and you pull out the power plug, we turn it off because we think that by default, most people probably don't want the Anime Matrix to be running on battery. You can change that setting if you want to. You can have something running on there all the time, even when you're on battery. But the default setting is to just turn it off to make sure battery life is good, because most people probably prefer the battery life over having an animation running all the time.
Very cool. Is there any way for us to see this plugged in, that piece you're holding right now? Can we see that lit up?
Yeah. So this is actually how our engineers then internally worked with this, because we didn't have a G14 engineering sample when we started working on the Anime Matrix. So this happened first, and it happened in parallel, separate. So all the software engineers that we talked to as well. Yesterday, Jake and I talked to them again to get the latest updates. So they explained to us that this is what they used for development. So they would just have their regular desktops or laptops and plug this in over a USB. And I brought a little gadget from home that lets you see what the voltage and the current draw is, so we can see the power draw. All right, let me plug this in. Okay, I just need to reconnect. Okay, it seems to have found it, and let me set it to 10% first. Oh, does it work? Nope. Let
Nothing yet.
me try again.
Technology. It's being shy.
Yeah. Nope, it doesn't want to work.
Oh
Let me
well.
try another USB port.
Oh yeah, sometimes that's the
I can,
magic trick.
yeah.
What's funny is when we were discussing with one of the developers yesterday, they mentioned that if you were to plug this tool into the device that already has an Anime Matrix display, it could not display something to it. Only one per device.
Yeah. So we can't use this on a G14 actually,
You got to test
which
with
is pretty
something
fun.
else. Yeah, yeah, it is funny.
Okay.
Well, it's definitely impressive with
Oh,
how thin this is. No luck, or
can't get it to work.
can't get it
I'm
to work.
sorry.
Yeah. Oh well.
I tried.
You know, I really just wanted you to be blinded, because when this thing is plugged in without anything to shield and kind of mask that light, it is
Yeah, we tried it yesterday,
so
and
bright. It's
yeah,
since
it's crazy bright.
yeah, but
It burns right into the retina, yeah, and so that's also why we limit the peak brightness. So it can actually go brighter, but for the one that's installed in the laptop, we don't let it go full throttle because the current draw would be pretty high, and it would get really blindingly bright. And some people would walk over to you and be not so happy why you're shining such a bright light in their face from your laptop lid. So yeah, like you mentioned, it's actually very important to have all these different layers, and we had to spend a lot of time and went through a lot of prototyping. Um, most of the difficult part was actually this: creating the mask and the diffuser and the light shield, the light guide for the anime matrix, because you want to make sure that when one LED is on and the one next to it is off, that only the holes that are illuminated by this one LED that is on are glowing, and the holes next to it that are illuminated by the next LED are completely dark. So you need to make sure there's no light leaking from one LED to the next LED, and that was really challenging. And at the same time, we had to make sure uniformity is really good. So we use one LED to illuminate four holes on the lid, and to make sure that they're all illuminated evenly, we had to create this mask with a very special pattern that guides the light. It's a cross pattern, you can see. It guides the light
yep.
from the center in all four directions evenly. Also because the LEDs, like I mentioned earlier, they're not square, they're not round, they're rectangular. So that already, the light distribution is not even starting with the LEDs. We have to make sure it becomes as even as possible once it's then on the anime matrix display.
So, you know, when I think about this, when you have all this light that you're essentially containing to make sure that the LEDs are only shining to where you want to show it,
Mm.
we're also looking at a device that's against another display. Would this light bleed into the actual monitor display and cause issues there, or does the display itself have enough to contain itself?
Yeah, that's a very good point. So we actually have another layer in between the main display and the anime matrix. We need to make sure that there's no light leakage because,
Oh, it is a
when
problem.
you
Okay.
have the laptop on, yeah, when you have the laptop on, you don't want to suddenly see parts of your display get brighter and
Right.
darker
That would
because the
be
anime matrix
awful.
is turning on and off.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be that would be really weird. Might be interesting and fun, but you don't want that all the
Nope.
time for sure. So we have a mylar film between the main panel and the anime matrix that completely blocks out the light from one to the other, so there's no crosstalk there either. And then we have an aluminum shield that holds the anime matrix in place as well to make sure that there's a certain gap between the main panel and the anime matrix. And it also helps with cooling because you can imagine if this panel, there's over 1,000 LEDs, so it's spread out really well, but it's still 10 watts. At full brightness, it can go up to 10 watts. So that's still heat you need to consider removing from the system as well. And it touches an aluminum backplate that then spreads the heat. And luckily, this whole chassis, the G14, that's another thing I didn't mention yet, is made out of aluminum and magnesium aluminum alloy. So it's a really premium build. And thankfully,
Yeah.
because it's all metal, it can dissipate the heat much more easily as well. So the whole lid can dissipate the heat easily and the whole chassis as well.
It's a lot of pieces. We're talking about magnesium and aluminum, a flexible PCB that so that it can't break any of these lights. We've got the black mylar film to block to make sure that no light bleeds, and then we're diffusing on top of that. It's a lot of layers to create
Yeah, and
this display that on the surface looks pretty simple.
Yeah, and this part here is actually several layers already assembled into one piece.
Really?
I don't really want to peel it apart because it's sticky, because it's meant to be stuck together and glued together.
Right.
But yeah, there's several layers here. One to rise up the just a protective layer basically, because the LEDs mounted on the flexible PCB are a certain height, and we want to make sure nothing pushes. If something pushes on here, we don't want the force to go on the LEDs themselves. We want it to be on the PCB rather. So we have, this is the same thing in here. It's already assembled in here. It's another film that basically raises the thickness of the flexible PCB. So then the mini LEDs are not the tallest part of the assembly, but they're thinner. So if there's any force when you press on the lid or when the laptop drops or something, it goes on this layer and then gets spread out on the flexible PCB instead of hitting all those mini LEDs.
Very cool. So when we put all this together and we create this display, um, what are we talking about in terms of resolution? I mean, I think we said power doesn't use a lot, but you know, as displays go and you hit different resolutions, it's gonna have different power draw, different amount of light used, different power draw. But what does the actual end resolution look like if somebody's never seen this display?
Yeah, I can turn it on
Sure. Yeah,
and
let's
we
take a
can have
look.
a look. All right. So there's a boot animation. Let me make sure the angle is nice. Yep,
We
this
can
should look good.
actually, it'll look better from here, I think.
So there you can see what it looks like. We have our ROG Cyberpunk glitch logo when I start the system. Now it's booting up. And yeah, once I'm in Windows,
Well, that's
let me
cool.
just log in.
I've never seen that actually. It's like going
Oh
through a
yeah,
pipe,
this is something.
a series of
This
tubes.
is something. Yeah, we're going on the internet right now through a series of
That's what it
tubes.
looks like,
This is
folks.
what it looks like.
We made it.
Yeah, this is what, when you download something, this is what it looks like. Um, yeah, I put this on here yesterday. I had Jerome and Sanji help out and go through some cool animated GIFs from Giphy and from different sites, and share their dankest memes with me and put some of them on here.
If I
Yeah,
was at
so
the
let me
airport
launch.
just kind of walking around and I saw somebody sitting there with that on their laptop, I'd just be like, what am I looking at? It's cool. It's really
Yeah,
cool.
yeah. And airport security would probably ask you as well if you you walk around with a laptop like this, like, what is this? What are you doing?
Very
So
unique.
yeah, I can go to the Anime Matrix app. Let me maybe put it flat on the table. So here you can see inside the app, I got a preview of what's happening on the Anime Matrix display, so I don't have to turn it around all the time. So I can see what's being displayed right now. And on the right side, you can see I already prepared a couple of things as saved, and I can just
You just got your memes
remove.
ready.
Yep. So I can remove this one, and now I got Doge, Gangster Doge. Oh,
So this is all in Armory Crate and comes with the device.
yes. So we have all of this on Armory Crate, built into Armory Crate. There we go. So now you can see I got it on the Anime Matrix, Gangster Doge. It's loading, and I can show it. This is what it looks like on the Anime Matrix proper. So yeah, not every animated GIF looks nice like this. Some look better than others. You gotta try out, and we got a couple of settings as well. You can adjust the contrast and the brightness to make it work. And yeah, for those of you who have GIF or GIF, whatever you want to call it, skills, it's definitely not that difficult to make a GIF or GIF work better. You just have to fine tune the contrast essentially. So most stuff is colors, and then if the contrast between the colors is not high enough, it doesn't translate that well to the Anime Matrix display because it's monochromatic. But yeah, you can just also put regular images on here. So not animated images, but regular logos and icons. And again, black and white works the best. So if you have a color icon like your gaming team or something, you want to put it on here, and it doesn't look that great, you just transfer it. You just go into your image editing app and change it to monochromatic bitmap, black and white or grayscale, and then it looks way better usually.
So
So yeah, let me Yep.
What other kind of options can you do? Is it just GIFs and images that you drop in? Can you do other things with this display?
Yeah, you can do
Kermit.
Kermit. Yeah, Kermit going crazy. You can do pretty much anything that is text-based. So you can write stuff on here. And it's actually really cool because you can have several texts going on top of each other. So I can combine this with an animated GIF. So you can have an animated GIF right now like this, and I can add text on top of that moves over, and then a different layer of text moving over it as well. And you can even do transitions. So there's a composition you can do. You essentially have a timeline in the Armory Create app for the Anime Matrix, and you can create different animated GIFs at the bottom in the timeline. And then transitions from the first to the second, you can say how many seconds you want to loop the first one, how many seconds the second.
Cool.
So like we discussed yesterday, essentially you can do like a miniature movie in here. You can have like an animation of one character doing something, an animated GIF, and adding text on top. This is what he's saying or thinking. And then it transitions to the next animated GIF. You see another character and what is he doing, and then the text, what he's saying, he's thinking. So it would be really cool. I think it would be awesome to have like a competition who can come up with the coolest stories being told on Anime Matrix, or who can come up with like the coolest content. Although you mentioned that on Reddit, you went through the subreddit and there's a lot of really cool stuff there as well, right?
Yeah, we can take a look at them now. Just give me 1 second. So here's one. It's just kind of blinking eyes. Somebody made this themselves. Just, maybe you're trying to pick up some girl at the cafe and you want to wink at her, but you want to do it with your laptop. Guess what? Now we've got an option for you.
My laptop likes you.
I've got a few others. Just this is
yeah.
One of my personal favorite memes is Bongo Cat.
Oh yeah.
And, somebody put Bongo Cat at the perfect angle so that he is just jamming away. I thought that was really clever.
I was looking for Bongo Cat GIFs actually to put on here, and it's hard to find good ones. There's so many Bongo Cat memes and GIFs, and I couldn't find one that looked really good. That one looks amazing. That's really good. Yeah, I got a different meme here on here right now as well.
Oh, hashtag production. Yeah, I want to look at your cat. The pointing. It's a great meme. I don't even know what that's from, but I love it. I see that meme everywhere.
Yeah, with the ladies screaming at the cat and freaking out. Yeah, I love that meme. Like just putting those two together is amazing. Yeah,
match made in heaven. And then we save the best community creation for last, and I think his name was Idzuna. I wanted to shout out this guy because he created basically, I don't know what he did with the software, but somehow he achieved something that we don't even offer right now. And it's showing off weather, and whatever the weather is in your area, it will change the way the display looks, show you the time on it, and you can see this is just, cloudy weather, right, with the sun. And again, this is not a feature that's officially supported by the device. This is a community creation, which I thought was unbelievable. Got some light rain in there. It's really cool. So it just kind of shows you how much potential there really is to do cool stuff with this. And like you said, maybe we should do a competition for creating stuff in this kind of way, because it's really unique. There's not a lot of other things like this, and it has that retro but also futuristic vibe with it. And this is just cool, right? If you just had your laptop sitting closed and you could still have that display up, that would be really cool.
Yeah. So I just added some text to mine as well now. Oh, now it's kind of hidden. Let me try row 2. So yeah, you can have text running over it. You can change the speed, the size, the location.
That's a great GIF.
The font as well. Yeah, so there's a lot of really cool stuff. I'm impressed by that community creation. So it's dynamic. It fetches the weather data wherever you are.
Yep.
That is really impressive. Okay, I got one more. We actually this is done by us. This is gonna come out later, but I can show it here, kind of tease it. This was an animation created by us here for the community, and it kind of shows you all the cool stuff you can do if you specifically make something just for the anime matrix. So here we go. It's for Halloween.
Here come the spooky memes. Oh wow.
There we go.
Oh wow, that's cool.
So you can see if you specifically make something for the anime matrix, you know exactly the resolution you're working with, and you fine tune it to look really good on that resolution and how much screen space you have. You can do really impressive, cool GIFs and animations. And yeah, in general, that's something that our software team told us as well. They spent a lot of time working on this. So they actually spent a lot of time trying different algorithms, how to alias content and how to make content, look nicer with the limited resolution that we have, but at the same time not make it look blurry. It's still sharp. So they played around with a lot of different algorithms, and there's a lot of really complicated math behind making memes look good on a low resolution monochromatic display.
I want
For the
memes, not
memes.
math. For the memes.
Yeah.
As Excellion says, the AniMe meme tricks. Perfect.
Yep.
You were talking about just how a lot of people like to decorate their laptops with stickers and stuff, and this allows you to have whatever decoration you want at the time. So many people like to roll with the seasons when it comes to their flavor on their profile image. Why not with the image on your laptop? Really cool. I'm actually super impressed by this Happy Halloween one because just the wipe of the ghost going by, really cool. Well, when it comes to creating these animations, you talked about a little bit about what you can do. I'm curious, do the devs that made this spooky ghost, do they use the same technology, or are they making that in different technology, different software?
I'm actually not sure which app they created it in. I think they did it in an Adobe suite. I don't know for sure. I think it was in Photoshop, but I can check with them. That was actually our designers, so it was not like a custom-made app or anything. But yeah, that would actually be interesting to share how we made those animations. Maybe some suggestions and tips. What's a good way to make an animation like this?
Yeah, it's interesting because it's really cool, and like you said, it's not a normal GIF. It's a little bit different in terms of the way the resolution is, the way that the shape of it's not a perfect rectangle. It really is a unique beast. But shout outs to idzuna, I believe it was on Reddit, because I really
That
got
is
a hand.
impressive.
It's really cool, and you don't see a lot of people going out and creating stuff like that on their own, but it really is an impressive showcase, because that's one of the first questions I asked our team. I was like, can we see like the weather and stuff on it? They're like, no, maybe in the future, but no. So I think we can do Windows notifications. Yeah, you can see your battery life. I think you can get other Windows notifications.
I can also display the clock, so now it's going to alternate between battery and the clock. I can also just have the clock only. And we can also display mail. So when you use Outlook and you receive an email, it's going to flash up an envelope on the Anime Matrix display and remind you that you got more email.
As long as it doesn't read my email to the public, I'm good. That's cool though.
Yeah. You can put your date on there as well.
Nice. In case you forget what
together with the clock. Yeah. So I mean, for events, this is really cool, right? So I think actually once the whole thing is over and we can have physical offline events again, we'll probably use this whenever we have an event. Just at the entrance, a reminder of when the event starts. And yeah, this is really cool. I think for broadcasters, for any sort of event, it's really nice. You can have names on here. You can have different information on here. Like you have several desks set up, and this is where you register for this session. That's where you register for that session. Go over here for press, over here for developers or something. And it actually has some real useful applications as well, besides just being fun and interesting. And yeah, another thing you can do with it is an audio visualizer. We have a lot of different functions, a lot of different ways to visualize audio on the Anime Matrix. I have to play back some audio for that though. So let me just put something on YouTube. What's any requests, Jake? What song do you want to listen to? I mean, you're not gonna hear it, but I have to play something.
Sandstorm.
Sandstorm. Oh, the Rude. Ah, that takes me back.
Old memes are
Okay.
good memes.
Yeah. So okay, I get it playing.
Because we all know what Sandstorm sounds like, so we're gonna see those waves perfectly replicated.
Okay, I don't know if my mic picks it up.
No. Oh, that's cool though.
Can you see it? So yeah, there's.
I can actually just hear it by looking at it. Is it going to keep changing its orientation, or is that something you did?
I'm doing this. So you can choose the orientation you want. So now it's on the side. Before it was on the top, and this one is.
Yeah, that's classic. That's really cool.
And it works with anything. So
yeah, you think if you're a DJ, a lot of DJs use laptops right there, for their live set. Perfect.
Yeah, and I mean, you can use this even when you're a streamer or a broadcaster. Like every time I say something, it's going to show up on the wave. Or every time, like the music I'm listening to or the game I'm playing as well, is going to show up here. So it's any audio that's running on the system is going to get displayed here.
I'm just the sandstorm is bleeding in a little, and I love it. I want more.
Yeah. You mean you want more music?
Well, we also don't want to get those DMCs, so.
Yeah, we're actually lucky that you can't hear anything. Otherwise, we might get like a copy strike or something, right?
Yep. Very
so
cool.
Yeah, there's a lot of really cool stuff you can do with the Anime Matrix, and we're going to add even more features. Like we heard yesterday from our software team, there's more stuff in the works. Some quality of life improvements to make it easier to create your own animated GIFs.
Yep, new UI
for the Anime Matrix.
Yep. And one thing I personally requested was I want a countdown, because I wanted to actually do our countdown for today's stream by pointing a camera at the laptop, and they're like, "Oh, that's a good idea." So, if you're counting down the new year or something, you're counting down the launch of a video game you're excited for, you could slap that countdown in your Anime Matrix display, and bam, it's there for you. I think that'd be cool. That could come in the future. That's a personal request. Doesn't mean it's actually coming, but who knows? Who knows?
Our software engineer definitely liked it. I mean, he kept coming back to it and going like, yeah, I think, he already has an idea of how he can make it work. So, because we have alarm clock on here as well. So if you set an alarm in Windows, it's able to pull that in and display that on the lid as well, on the Anime Matrix. So alarm works already, but stopwatch and timer currently does not. But he was like, yeah, I think I can make that work. So we'll see.
Very cool. A lot of fun stuff. Yeah, no, there's not really a lot else to say in that regard. It's just like, it seems like we're going to see more and more. So if you guys want to actually submit your own display, if you guys have done something cool like we just showed off with the weather, or even just like a GIF that you made specifically for your device, your customization, feel free to tweet it at us. You can tweet it at us personally, or you can tweet it at ASUS ROG on Twitter. I think there might be an underscore, ASUS_ROG. That is correct, for our Twitter account, or Instagram, whatever. We want to see your cool stuff, because the more cool creations we see, the more excited we are. We also
if it's PG-13, we can actually commit to showing it. We can show it on future episodes.
Yeah, that is a really good point. So we also do some other versions of this. We've talked a lot about how other people customize their Anime Matrix display, but we've actually done a collaboration with this in the form of the Acroynm Anime Matrix.
Yeah. So Acroynm is a really interesting fashion designer. They do more than just clothing. They had a collab with BMW as well, and also fits our cyberpunk theme really well. That's one of the reasons why we reached out to him and worked together with him, because he does a lot of cyberpunky designs like clothes and also other stuff. Very futuristic and very very different from what you usually see out there. And yeah, I don't know. Yeah, you got it there. You can show that's the
I'll actually.
G14 Acroynm edition, and definitely looks very different from any other laptop you've seen on the
So
market. And
okay,
everything is different, like
I've
the
seen this. Yeah,
packaging.
I've seen this on Instagram a little bit. Is this the packaging? I find it fascinating that the first thing you see on our microsite for this product is like bubble wrap, basically. That's what I'm
Yeah,
looking at, right?
yeah, yeah. That's the packaging,
That's
right?
really
And and
interesting.
and Acronym Errolson, he's a friend of Kojima as well, Kojima, and
Hideo Kojima?
yeah, yeah.
Huh.
So he's totally into like Easter eggs and
Yeah,
secrets and that kind of stuff. So his whole design and everything, the whole laptop is all about there's a million little hidden Easter eggs everywhere, and
that's
he
cool.
wants people to explore and find all this stuff by themselves. So uh, for us, it's actually challenging to promote this laptop because we have a massive list of don'ts and a very small list of do's. So we're not allowed to talk about a million things because I understand it as well. Like he wants people to discover this by themselves. And if we just tell them like, oh, there's an Easter egg here and there's an Easter egg there,
It
it's like
takes away.
just take the way. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
So
not
now
that fun
now I'm
anymore.
like wondering where the Metal Gear Easter egg is because I mean
Oh, there must
my
be one
namesake
somewhere.
is literally Solid Snake, right? So obviously I like
Yeah,
Metal Gear. Um
yeah.
I didn't
And
know
yeah,
there were
it's
Easter eggs.
not it's
I
not just on the laptop itself. So
right.
it's when you turn it on,
Oh, look at this.
everything is customized. Yeah, the keyboard is you've never seen a keyboard like that for sure, and definitely not on a laptop. And yeah, there's so many little things, and first you think it's just a different pattern or something, but there's a meaning to everything. There's a meaning to the colors, and there's some hidden hex code here and there, and some binary code and Morse code and everything, and patterns. And when you turn it on, there's some different hidden stuff as well, and some riddles. And to
Really?
unlock some things, you need to go to the Instagram page or find something here, find something there, and you like go on a wild goose chase. Um, yeah, it's really really interesting.
It's a unique beast of a device. Nothing like it out there. You walk out in public with that, and people are gonna be like, "Wow, that's I've never seen that laptop before."
Yeah, that definitely stands out if you have one of those, and that's the idea as well. They want it to be very exclusive and very special and very unique. And yeah, so that's one thing. We got the G14, the regular one. So we have to be clear on this, right? The regular G14 does not have the AniMe matrix. There's two versions of it. There's the regular G14, and then there's the G14 with the AniMe matrix. And we got the black version and a white version for each of them as well.
Yeah, just looking at
And
the white version, I know we did this with Alan Walker back in June. They kind of just did
yeah,
a little collab with him, and you can see the white version here with. I don't know if
yeah.
that's just
That's
like a sticker on the front, but really cool.
no, that's a different. That's actually different material.
Oh, I
So
see.
it's yeah, and that's a prototype. That's like a one-off design we did together with Alan Walker for him. So that's his
For his, yeah, it's
G14.
like a gift.
Uh, yeah, we're working together with him. You can see
Oh,
that
that
he's using
case.
it on Instagram and others. He's showing it off every once in a while. And we maybe will even do Alan Walker G14 edition that all of us can buy in
Oh,
the future.
really?
Possibly. Could be, yeah.
Very cool.
If we would, I would definitely be very interested in that and very excited. Like a laptop that was developed together with Alan Walker sounds super exciting. Um, yeah, and so we got a lot of different versions of the G14. It has been a massive success ever since it came out, and you can see we keep creating more and more custom versions and special versions of it because it's so popular and people want something slightly different in this direction, that direction. And yeah, so we're branching out even more with the G14.
So I think like, just talking about kind of that two-tone design, it's often one color body or maybe like a slightly off color with that and then the color light being white on the main one. On the Alan Walker one, are the lights a different color? Because I feel like the white LED wouldn't show up as much.
Right, that's something I keep hearing as well. So we got a regular white one and a regular black one. Then we got a white Animatrix, black Animatrix, and then we got the Alan Walker one and the Acronym one. So the LED color is different for the Acronym one. That one is actually pink purplish,
Huh.
and for the Alan Walker one, it's still white, and it actually looks really good and very clear on the white lid as well. Arguably, like actually looks better on the white one.
Very cool.
Surprisingly, like
Yeah, I wouldn't think
you
that.
would think that on the white one you don't see it because it's white and white light, but no, it actually looks really bright and really clear on the white Animatrix as well.
This is just a cool photo from his Instagram. I mean, he's clearly posing with it, but man,
Yeah, I mean, wouldn't you? If you know a company
you
makes
got a
a
custom
custom
laptop.
laptop
Yeah, yeah,
just
yeah.
for you, like
You
that
got a
laptop is
style.
made for you, yeah. I mean, I would too. I mean,
Very
nobody
cool.
would ever do that, but if somebody would, then yeah, I would show it off as well.
I don't know if he has any other photos. He might, but yeah, no, that's it's a lot of stuff going on with the Animatrix display. Just kind of thinking about, you hinted that maybe we would create a Alan Walker version to come out in the public, but what does the future in general look like? I mean, clearly you mentioned it's popular. We're gonna see it continue on, I assume, with new devices.
Oh, hell yeah! I mean, why would you
Hell,
not
that's a
make
hell yeah.
a
That's not
refresh?
a soft yes. It's a oh yeah, let's go.
I mean, this is probably the most popular, the most successful product we've had in a while for our
Wow,
gaming laptops.
awesome.
That has drawn so much attention. We got so many awards for it. People just absolutely love it, and Alan Walker and Acronym as well. They absolutely love it, and yeah, I don't really know of anyone who doesn't like the G14. There's very few people who don't like it, and what I heard from them was they don't like that, you know, when it's they have this impression of using an ultrabook, and coming from an ultrabook, because this is so similar to an ultrabook, right? It's
Right,
so
right.
portable and so compact to an ultrabook. They have very high expectations for surface temperatures. As soon as the palm rest gets even slightly warm, like you can feel that there is, something inside that is generating a little bit of heat, then they don't like it and they don't want it. And on an ultrabook, I can understand it, but for a gaming laptop, you got an RTX 2060 in here,
It's
an
gonna
eight
create some heat.
core
Yeah.
CPU. Yeah, exactly. And you want performance, right? So
You
there's no way
right. In order to get
to
performance, you gotta generate some heat. That's just the
yeah.
nature of the beast.
So right, and I can understand, for some people, if you don't need the performance, fine, you're probably better off with an ultrabook. But if you want that performance, if you need that kind of performance, there is nothing even close to getting this much performance. And yeah, it's there's just nothing better than this, far far from anything else on the market. So yeah, there's definitely going to be new versions of this coming up. And yeah, there's new CPUs coming out, there's new GPUs coming out. I'm really excited about that. I would be very surprised if Intel and AMD and Nvidia suddenly decided, we're not releasing new chips anymore. Nope, that's it. I think it's all good enough now. So there's definitely new portable, new mobile stuff coming out, and that's gonna bring up CPU performance, gonna bring up GPU performance. There's gonna be improvements in the panel technology for sure, and a couple other improvements. So yeah, I'm really excited for the refreshes that are coming up.
Very cool. We've
Oh, and
actually
Type-C charging. I have to mention Type-C charging. That's actually one of the key reasons why people here in the office love this laptop. And when we were developing it, everybody was like, "Oh, can I have this as my work laptop?" And everybody's contacting our IT department. "I want this as my work laptop. When can I get one as my work laptop?" Because it supports Type-C charging. So you can use any Type-C PD adapter to charge this laptop and power this laptop. So when you have a marathon meeting session, this is just absolutely perfect. You have a super small, compact, portable Type-C charger with you. You can have it in your pocket. I have one from Delta that's like 88 grams, and it's a 65-watt charger. That's perfectly fine. Never run out of battery. 88 grams. It's super small. It's like a regular phone charger, and you can just carry it in your pocket with you all the time. You don't even know you have it with you. And yeah, you can power the laptop. You can even play games on a Type-C charger. Not full performance, obviously, but you
Right.
can play games, like casual games, absolutely no problem. So yeah, Type-C charging is another really, really cool thing.
Do you think that's going to become a little bit more of a standard for a lot of devices, laptops across the board?
Oh, definitely. And I mean, the only problem right now with Type-C charging is that it maxes out at 99 watts, right? It
Yeah,
can't go
yeah.
higher than that. And that's why generally you see Type-C charging for Ultrabooks, because they're in that kind of power range. They
Hmm.
come with a 65-watt or 100-watt charger, and then you can just go Type-C. But for gaming laptops, you just need more power for high refresh rate panels, for a powerful CPU and GPU. You just need probably twice that. So gaming laptops are usually 180 watts. The entry level ones are maybe 120, 150, but then most gaming laptops are 180 watts, 230 watts, or then even 280 watts or 330 watts. You just can't do that with Type-C. So, but we believe in Type-C being the future, and we're making it a standard for ourselves. So all our Zephyrus laptops, we made it a standard. They all do support Type-C charging. And you don't get the full performance. You need a big power brick for that extra performance for the full 200, 300 watts.
Right.
But if you're just using it on the go, the Type-C charging is more than enough. If you just want to charge up the laptop, Type-C charging is more than enough.
We've gone through a lot of content tonight, but we actually do have a couple questions rolling in here from chat. And we've been talking about the future of the device. One of the questions is will we have a Zephyrus Duo 17-inch variant? So that's the Duo, different device. But what do you think?
Yeah, I've heard that a lot. So a lot of people were asking why the Duo is 15-inch and why it's not 17-inch. And the main reason is because we still wanted it to be as portable as possible with dual screen. And at 2.4 kilos, it is actually reasonably portable for a dual screen laptop. And if you would push that up to 17-inch, the weight would probably approach more around 3 kilos or more. And we kind of felt that was a bit more on the heavy side. We felt 15-inch probably works better for most people. But yeah, there are a lot of people who are actually interested in 17-inch. So I know that we got that feedback from a couple of people, and I can't really comment on if we're going to do it or when we're going to do it. But yeah, good feedback, and we are aware of that feedback.
Okay, very cool. Good to know. Well, any final thoughts just speaking about the AniMe Matrix display and kind of everything we've done with it and where we're going with it? What do you want to see, Sascha? What is your hopes and aspirations for this? More
I would like
memes?
to see Anime Matrix on more devices. Yep. What were you saying?
I said more memes.
Yeah, more memes, obviously. I really wish we could find a way to just. I would love to have an app that basically just optimizes GIFs for the Anime Matrix. So you take any GIF you have online, or even a video, and you just put it in on one side, and out on the other side comes a perfectly optimized, clear GIF that you can play on your Anime Matrix. I would love that. Um, and yeah, having Anime Matrix on more devices, I would love that. Obviously, high resolution would be great.
Yeah.
RGB would be great, although that's technically very challenging. So there are a few people asking about this as well. The
Yep.
main reason is, like I said, we actually use one LED to eliminate 4 holes, right? So if you would use an RGB LED, you actually have 3 different colors, red, green, and blue. And I mentioned how difficult it is even for just a single light frequency, single wavelength, to make sure that it's evenly spread out to the 4 holes. So imagine if you do that with 3 separate LEDs, it's never going to look great. So let's say you have an RGB LED instead of a white LED, and you have those 4 holes. They're not going to look white if you have them all on, right? One is going
Right.
to look red, one is going to look blue, one is going to look green, and one is going to look teal, I guess, or something like that. So it's very, very difficult to do that. For RGB, you would then have to have one LED per each hole, which means either the resolution has to go down, or you need way more holes, which then is difficult for the structure. So yeah, it's very challenging. But yeah, long term, I would love for this to be RGB in maybe 5 years or something like that.
That's actually really interesting. You talk about just how it blocks the light, and yeah, RGB
Yeah.
becomes suddenly very complicated when you think about it.
Yeah, and I have to say, it was a clear choice. We did consider RGB for this, but like I said, because of the limitation on resolution, we decided to go for monochromatic instead. And I have to say, it adds a lot to the aesthetics. On the G14, you also don't have an RGB keyboard; it's a white keyboard. So
Right.
it adds to the design as well. And RGB is not always better than having just white backlight, for example. You can make that argument that
Disagree.
arguably,
RGB is always better.
eh, yeah, if it comes at the price of dropping the resolution to a quarter,
Yeah,
that's
maybe
like,
not. Maybe not. But who knows? Maybe there's a market for that. I mean, like you said, it's an interesting conversation, and maybe someday it'll happen.
yep, yeah. It's not that it's impossible. It's just there are really big challenges. It's not like, oh, we make it RGB. We just add more LEDs and done. It's not that easy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, well, we've talked about how it's built. We've talked about what people have done with it, and then what the future might look like. And I think that's pretty much everything we have to discuss about the Anime
I
Matrix
haven't I
display.
haven't shown these little
Oh, that's
gadgets we use in the factory.
oh,
I can let me just
I
so
totally forgot you
essentially,
had those guys.
yeah. I forgot as well, but just remembered. So the Animatrix is assembled at a panel factory for us. So it's assembled similar to how you would assemble a laptop display, a panel. So at the panel vendor, they use this piece of what's it called? Deldrin. Deldrin. So it's really rigid. It's really precise, and you can see. No, you can probably not see. There's three little pieces of metal sticking out here with a very special shape that are used to align all the individual bits and pieces. So first you have the flexible PCB dual layer board with all the mini LEDs on it. And then you put all the different layers. So we have the first mask, and you put the mask on here and make sure it's aligned. And then you put all the other bits and pieces. So this is already assembled. In the factory, they would then have these bit by bit different layers and assemble them and place them on top of each other. And this would then all glue together and get bonded together into one piece and gets then shipped to our laptop factory. And in our laptop factory, they use this piece of equipment, also very high precision, um, which is to assemble the Anime Matrix display onto the lid of the laptop itself. So they place the whole assembly on here and then place the lid of the laptop on top. So like I said earlier, it's super important to align all the pieces to make sure it's as bright as possible and there's no like diffusion, unwanted diffusion or light bleeds, or it's darker on one side than on the other side, all that kind of stuff.
That's all pre-pieced together.
Yep. Yeah. So precision, it's like the precision you need for this is super high. And again, those holes, we could just make the holes bigger, and then you don't have to be so precise with, the LED placement on the PCB and assembly and everything. But if you make the holes bigger on the lid, then you have a bigger problem with dust and dirt getting stuck inside, and also water. So there were some people asking, is it waterproof? We don't have a rating for it, but it is pretty much waterproof. So if you go to a certain size of holes drilled into metal, it kind of becomes water resistant, waterproof, because water always has a surface tension and it balls up. And you have to press on it really hard to get the water to go through a small hole in the lid, and actually go into the lid. So while it's not IP rated, we have actually spilled water over it here. For science, of course, intentionally, and have had no problems with it whatsoever so far. So, like I said, a lot of people here use it for the work laptop, and you eat at your desk sometimes, and you take your laptop, even your work laptop, home, and have it on the dinner table or on your desk when you're playing games. And yeah, so far, no problems whatsoever.
A lot of work, like you said. So if you mentioned precision and how it has to line up perfectly, if it's off a millimeter, is that going to completely ruin the device?
Yeah, 1 millimeter, even if it's just a fraction of a millimeter, because the mini LEDs are 0.3 by 0.6 millimeters in size. So
Wow.
the holes that are drilled into the lid are really tiny. They're smaller than 1 millimeter. They're like half a millimeter as far as I know, 0.6, I believe. So if if the hole is 0.6 millimeter and you're misaligned by 1 millimeter, that's yeah, that's gonna be too much. Even with the diffuser and everything, you will still get light, but it won't be that bright, and you'll probably get some light bleeding of light that was supposed to go out this hole is then gonna bleed into the hole next to it. So
Speaking
yeah,
of the
well,
holes, we've got a question in chat. Do you have any personal tips for cleaning all those little holes on your device since you own one?
yeah, I was worried about dirt getting stuck into the holes, like and having to like try to peel it out, but that hasn't really happened. Like you can see a little bit on the edges sometimes, but for me, I haven't had any problems with it. And I mean, I clean it with wet wipes, but I guess the proper official way to recommend people to clean it would be to use, a damp cloth with soap water, dish soap, and
Just
just
very
carefully
carefully.
clean
Yeah.
it. Just like how you would, that the official way to clean any electronic device,
Yeah.
smartphone or game controller, Xbox controller, like anything, it's always the same, damp cloth with dish soap.
Unplug it, power it down, and
Yeah,
be
yeah,
and
it's
be very
probably
careful.
safer to turn it off,
Yeah, you
although
always
I
should.
think,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, it's just a fun fact if anyone didn't know this. If you were to spill a drink on your keyboard, the first thing you should do is unplug it. Because if
Mhm.
there's no power running through it, then that liquid can't fry your keyboard. So what you want to
Mhm.
do is you want to unplug it. You want to, I know this is a little off topic, but unplug it, dry it off the best you can, stick it in a bag of rice for a couple days, and then the
Yep.
rice will draw the moisture out of it, and then your keyboard's fine, right? As long as,
Same with the phone.
yeah,
Like as
yeah,
soon as something happens to your phone, if it
yep.
gets wet or if it drops into water in a bathroom or something, into a bathtub, just get it out of the water, turn it off as soon as you can, and then drop it in a bag of rice. That actually happened to me a few times,
Me too.
and it worked. That saved I think 2 phones of mine. But I have to say, with like the most recent phones, I haven't had any issues like this. Uh, the
Now
water resistant,
nowadays,
dust
yeah,
resistant, has
yeah,
really improved
it's
a
a lot
lot.
better. But keyboards aren't impervious to water the way phones are. So
Yep.
I think that's probably the first case scenario where I see people would maybe be doing that because it's quite easy to spill a drink in your keyboard. Let's be real. I haven't done it in a long time.
Yeah.
I'm proud of myself, but I've killed at least 2 keyboards in the past. Feels bad. I learned my lesson the hard way. Uh, but okay, Sascha, any final thoughts here today?
No, it was really nice as always. I really like these podcasts. I hope our audience enjoys this as well. And yeah, I hope we get more questions in the future and from the audience. I hope this is a really nice way for them to learn more about the products as well and ask us questions they have, so we can interact more with them. And yeah, if they have any suggestions or feedback for what they think we should be doing in the future, that's yeah, more than welcome. I'd really like to hear what other interesting ideas do people have out there. Oh, why don't you guys do something like this or like that? It's always interesting to have a communication like this with the audience, with people who buy our products. um,
Yeah,
yep.
absolutely. Let us know in chat if you guys are looking forward to like a specific topic to be delved into because we can do that. You can tweet at us at our official Twitter accounts or just the Twitter accounts you have listed above our names here on the stream. And again, this is a weekly show that we do every Thursday here in the US, Friday there for Sascha over in Taipei. But we dive into a lot of different topics. And next week, we're going to be talking about the Zephyrus Duo and doing we're doing a live teardown, right, Sascha? We're going to tear one apart
Yep.
from fully
Yeah, we're
built
gonna tear
to
down.
naked.
Yeah, it's gonna be Ryan and Sanji tearing down the Zephyr's duo, and we'll see if it still works afterwards. But no, it'll still work fine afterwards. We know what we're doing.
I'm excited. That's my that'll be my first live teardown.
Oh yeah, and
Yeah.
and I mean the Zephyr's duo is also the dual screen and the liquid metal. So yeah, that's a very special teardown for sure.
And I'm in love with that device. I've been I
Oh, you
actually
have one, yeah,
yeah,
right.
I streamed with it last week actually. Speaking of which, I do a weekly stream every Friday where I play a different game using different hardware. So last week I streamed the Zephyrus Duo, which is pretty interesting because I'm like really passionate about this device as it has a second screen on the bottom, which is smaller. And as a streamer, you get a lot of cool functionality in the sense that you can actually have it set up so you can read your chat, you can see all the notifications in chat, and you can even change your scenes and just kind of manage pretty much everything with that lower screen. And I used to travel for a lot of events back before we lived in apocalyptic wasteland, and I got to go and stream from hotel lobbies and all different kinds of weird places. I streamed from Blizzard headquarters before, and I would always travel with my ROG laptop, but I also would have to pull up my phone to be able to read Twitch chat. And with the Zephyrus Duo, that is no longer a problem because you get the second screen. So I'm really pumped. There's a lot of unique engineering that goes into that device, and I can't wait to see one taken apart. Because I'll tell you, if you look up the Zephyrus Duo, if you've never seen it, it really is. It's even more unique than the G14 with the AniMe Matrix display. It's a whole different level of innovation, in my opinion. I'm biased towards functionality. A lot of people like prettiness, and this is a gorgeous device we looked at today. But I'm really looking forward to our teardown next week. So yeah, we'll see you guys next week for our next episode here of ROG Pulse. We'll see you tomorrow. I'll be playing a game called Grounded, which is you're not grounded, you're just on the ground. It's like Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, where it's a survival game where
right, that one.
yeah, when you're in like the backyard and there's like ants that are bigger than you and spiders that are way bigger than you. So I'm looking forward to playing some Grounded tomorrow. That'll be at 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific. So we'll see you guys next time. GG's, Sascha. It was great chatting with you tonight.